Hello class, and welcome to my week 5 presentation on mental illness. So for my chosen mental illness, I chose OCD. Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, or as it's more commonly known as OCD, is an anxiety disorder that features a pattern of unwanted thoughts or fears, which are known as obsessions, that can lead to repetitive behaviors or compulsions. And I chose this particular mental illness due to my own battle with what I have self-diagnosed as OCD. I've never actually been diagnosed. But I do tend to have intense stress or anxiety when my life, including like my house, my belongings, my schedule, don't align perfectly, whether that be literally or figuratively. And both my grandmother and my mom kind of go through the same thing, and it's definitely hereditary. So I do believe that we probably do have OCD, although we do manage it more better than most people, I would say. After reading this week's materials, 2 additional topics related to OCD I would be interested in exploring further would include hoarding. I've always been interested in learning more about hoarding disorder because I have quite the opposite problem, which is weird that they're housed in the same topic or area of mental illness as each other, and as well as body dysmorphic disorder as well, because I know quite a few people who battle with that. So, obsessive compulsive disorder's etiology is caused by biology, genetics, like we talked about earlier, or hereditary, and learning or development. So it can be a learned behavior, which is pretty interesting as well. And OCD presents itself in various ways, including repeating activities, routines, or mental acts, as we said before. And I was interested in this, in the prevalence as well. OCD has a worldwide prevalence of between 1% and 2%, which is pretty low. And actually, I was very surprised by that. So in the United States, about 2.2% of the population will experience OCD sometime during their lives. And the rates of OCD, which I did not find this very surprising, it's found to be higher in women. So women have women are experienced 1.8%, and then men 0.5%. And then the symptomatology, symptoms of OCD are categorized in 2 different ways. So one being obsession, which presents itself in many ways, including fear of being contaminated by touching objects that others have touched, doubts that you've locked a door or turned off the stove, or intense stress when objects aren't orderly or facing a certain way. And I definitely have that. And on to abstracts that I have found on OCD. So for the first one, I thought this one was very prevalent and also very interesting. It is an article about OCD and COVID-19. And basically what it's talking about are the effects of COVID-19 on people with already existing OCD or already diagnosed OCD, and how it might have how it does have a larger health impact on those people with pre-existing conditions, or pre-existing mental health conditions. And an experimental method was used with limitations such as limited participants and other things like that. The desired outcome was to determine that those with pre-existing mental health issues were affected more so than other people without mental health issues. And for the second article or abstract, we talked more about genetics of obsessive compulsive disorder. So this discusses the role that genetics play in OCD and how poignant these genetics are in determining why OCD persists and becomes an actual mental health issue. And then genetic epidemiology and molecular genetic study methods are used, with limitations including obviously expense and lack of technological advancement. They talk a lot about that in the abstract. And then the desired outcome was to determine the role or poignancy of genetics in terms of the cause of OCD. And then for the final abstract, I found this one really interesting. It was nutritional and herbal supplements in the treatment of obsessive compulsive disorder. I wasn't sure if they had ever done studies like this, so it was cool to see that they had. And this unearths the potential for treatment of OCD with the use of nutritional and herbal supplements. And then they use a control case study method, which includes limitations of expense, as well as combating participants' uniqueness in the way of bodily response. So of course, everyone's body acts different and reacts different to nutritional and herbal supplements. And then the desired outcome was to determine whether nutritional or herbal supplements could be a successful treatment for OCD. And then I have also added some graphs or visuals and some info from all of the abstracts. So the first one, like we were talking about COVID-19 and OCD, this kind of depicts the differences between the two. So for example, one of the COVID-19 government guidelines is to obviously wash your hands or use hand gel for 20 seconds. And then, of course, with OCD, how that might be depicted, because I feel like a lot of the times with obsessive compulsive, you're not envisioning life the way that other people do, so you want to go above and beyond. You think that minimum standards are not minimum standards. So people with OCD would want to wash their hands or use hand gel for an internal reference time. So that criterion is going to be a little bit different depending on the person and the severity of OCD, obviously, but it will be different in general with somebody with already having OCD. And then for the second abstract, this is the heritability of whether or not you possess the gene or how you would inherit obsessive compulsive. And then for the third, I thought this was really interesting because I do have a higher intake of vitamin B12 as of late, and I do feel like maybe this is just me thinking that it's the same or whatever, but I do feel like it does have an effect on helping me kind of calm down with the OCD. Again, I'm not professionally diagnosed, but I thought this was interesting. So vitamin B12 and folate are thought to be effective in OCD treatment due to their associations with neurotransmitters. And for the next slide, we have the full article, and I chose Harmonizing the Neurobiology and Treatment of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. So for determining the link and causation of neurobiology and the treatment of OCD, this is kind of helping to understand what treatments work and how and why they do due to the initial cause. And the methods used for this were case study, and of course the limitations would include expenses, and there were additional variations and factors as well. So the desired outcome was to determine the relationship between rate of success in a treatment due to the cause. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And then next we have the website, which I have added in here for you guys, and I'll also link it in the discussion. So after researching websites on OCD, I came across the International OCD Foundation, which I had no idea existed. And it dedicates its research to OCD and symptoms, causes, cures, treatments, etc. And it houses information on support, conferences, contacts, studies. And this website also aims to help those who need help with OCD feel like they're not alone, and also those who want to learn more or be a support system for someone with OCD, help them gain more knowledge on the mental illness. And the International OCD Foundation is a donor-supported nonprofit organization, which helps kind of give it its merit. And it was founded in 1986 by a small group of individuals with OCD. So it's really cool that this whole organization is based off of people who actually know the disease or the disorder. And I feel like that just kind of brings it home that they actually know what's going on and they can actually give a nice support system for people who actually have it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation, and I have my references on the next slide so you can check out all of this information, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.